We all love the low country lifestyle, which is why we should do our best to protect it. To get insurance that helps you protect your home from whatever the low country throws at you, contact CT Lowndes & Company today. Their local agents can review your coverage to help make sure you're properly protected. CT Lowndes & Company has been helping protect and insuring the low country since 1850. Visit ctlowndes.com to learn more and request a quote. That's CTLOWNDES.com.
You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and beauty, where relevant topics are discussed, where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Hey, welcome back to Perspectives. Live here with me, Ashley Burgess. Wow, what a beautiful night. You know, kind of reminds me of what we talked about last week here on Perspectives, you know. We really discussed the concept of asking questions. You know, asking those important questions when you don't know the answer to something or you don't understand. Not just going through those motions, not just lying about knowing to appear smarter in front of friends or coworkers or to appear better, or not wanting to look stupid in front of others as well, you know. We discussed TMI, too much information, and when it's appropriate and when it's needed. And, you know, the obvious next concept that we discussed was doing your people homework. And, you know, it's really important because when you realize your surroundings, as well as you realize the people you're surrounded by, and you show that you care and you work toward it, you're always going to move forward in life, you know? You know, I realized a few things, you know, throughout this last week, because this last week was just kind of odd. It was odd week. It was kind of rare. It was odd. I think it was for most folks, you know? I don't really know where to begin. You know, with all the happenings and goings on, I realized that things... They had nothing to do with reality, that people choose their own reality. They choose whatever side they're going to do. They choose what they're going to do, and they play their own game. Right? Yeah, their game has nothing to do with you unless you let it. When people are playing games, unless you jump in and start playing with them, it's not going to affect you. Except for sometimes it can kind of feel that way. So, hey, Dano, how are you doing this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you.
You too.
See you. Hey, Billy Boy, what's up?
Oh, I've been sick this past week.
Oh, no.
Allergies. Probably everybody can relate.
Well, I think so. I think that's true. You know, I know a lot of people can relate on that. And I've kind of had that little allergy thing, too. But
It just royally kicked my butt this week.
God bless you, man. That's awful. Yeah, I know I called you. You kind of sounded sad, you know. You're like, I don't feel good. You know, so let's talk about, tonight's show is about games people play, you know, and the ways that people try and pull you into their game can be original sometimes, but usually it's really not, right? I mean, usually you just don't realize it, but the game has been played on you before a number of times. I think we've been there. And eventually, the wiser we get, the more the games begin to actually stink. They smell. As they're coming toward your direction, you know them, you feel them, and you're not really amused. You're not amused at all. You're like, I can't believe that they're going to try to play this game on me. So on tonight's edition of Perspectives, here with me, Ashley Burgess, we're going to discuss how to arm yourself against the games that people play. You know, if we have time, I don't know if we're going to have time, I'm not really sure, but we'll begin identifying the tactics and the games that people play, and down that Perspectives road, we'll get into the mental and the emotional reasoning people play their games. Do y'all know what I'm talking about when we talk about games people play?
Oh, I mean, Dan and I probably got master's degrees at stuff like this, right, Dan?
Oh, yeah. I understand exactly what you're talking about whenever you're talking about the games that people play.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, from a first-hand perspective. So,
you know, real quickly, actually, just to give a real quick example here, my girlfriend Jen and I, you know, were talking at dinner last night, and we were just kind of having because we haven't been dating for very long, and we were just kind of having one of those where do we stand type conversations.
Those are always fun.
And but no, it was okay. We just we're trying to just kind of gauge each other.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's
good.
Communication's good.
We just kind of decided, look, we're going to date each other exclusively. And if one decides that, they'd rather not continue the relationship, let's not play games. Just communicate, be truthful with the other one, and we'll just go from there. So, which I thought was a great thing to do.
I think that's great. I mean, communication is key. And I agree with you, Billy Boy. I mean, honestly, a lot of people never have that conversation because they can't be honest even with themselves. I mean, much less somebody else. I mean, that kind of takes a lot of work. And there is something to be learned from that, because when we're talking about games, we're talking mental hijacking. We're not just talking games. We're not just talking about, little games. We're talking about mental assault sometimes, right? We're not mamby-pamby land anymore. You know what I'm saying? We're just not. Because people play the games to hurt you. They do it sometimes because they can't get arrested for it. You know what I'm saying? You can't be like, dude, this woman or this guy's playing a game on me, this mental head game. You can't get arrested for it. It's not like they came over to your house and beat the crap out of you.
That'd be cool if we could arrest them for it, though.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Citizens arrest.
Citizens arrest for mind games here, right. Manipulation, mental hijacking. Yeah, I mean, I think that works. But if they came over to your house, try to beat the crap out of you, or vice versa, maybe you beat the crap out of them. I mean, that's different. So in order to kind of bypass that, people use these mind games, and a lot of times it's passive aggressive. Yeah, that's a big one, because they like to kind of underestimate you, make you kind of feel really sorry about yourself, and so that's kind of an interesting thing. And I think we've all been there, no matter if it's a woman or man, anybody that's played games on us. I mean, do you have any examples of that, Dano, that you've recently experienced?
Well, not recently, but like in the past, this girl that I was dating in the past, she was like one of those people, well, you can, I guess, go out, trying to run the guilt trip on you. You can go out with your friends, I guess, if you want to, but, I'd really like it if you would come over and see me, but it's okay. You can go out with your friends,
Guilt trip.
Oh,
yeah.
I hate that.
Guilt trip,
it's
2013.
Like, it's like, her lips say no, 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 but her eyes say go, go, go. That type of thing. It's like, why don't you just say what you mean? Come on.
Parents do that really well.
Oh, my mother is the world champ at that. Are you kidding?
Bill, it's okay if you don't want to eat dinner with me.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I'm sure you got a lot going on in your life.
Yeah.
And, anything but me. I know it's okay.
Because she's pulling the Thanksgiving guilt trip on me already.
What's that?
Because I will normally stay in town to work for Thanksgiving so I can be off for Christmas. Okay.
That makes perfect sense to me.
And she's already sent me the email. Well, if you got the time on Thanksgiving, well, then I might just come out and see you. And knowing that I will usually, and I haven't told her, I just now found out my Thanksgiving schedule today. But so
you can is it going to be impossible?
Pretty much.
So what are you going to say?
Well, I'm just going to say, well, Mom, I mean, you do what you want, but you're going to be all alone because I got to go to work.
Yeah, because it's like, what am I going to do? I got to go to work. You're just going to be here, just hanging out?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but you have to be honest, and that's the thing. That's about communication is key, is because these games, and a lot of these games too, have been played over and over and over again, time after time, especially if it's somebody that we've known for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Because this comes up probably every Thanksgiving, right?
Oh yes, Thanksgiving, Christmas, major anniversaries, birthdays, that type of thing.
Yeah, Bill, are you gonna come see me? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I am your mom. But then that's not really said that way, though. It's always like, if you have time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I've had some interesting games played, and there's some that are they just take the cake. I mean, some of those they would be good on a good reality show, but I don't know. But when we return, we're going to be discussing a lot of cool stuff about how to really effectively arm yourself for manipulation. Because these head games aren't just head games; they're really manipulation. They're malicious tactics, and you can actually grow in the process. If you use basically the way to arm yourself, like I'm going to show you tonight. Later in the hour, we're really going to get into those games that people play, as well as we have a guest this evening that's pretty cool. A writer, Scott Reich, is actually the writer of an acclaimed new book, The Power of Citizenship, Why John F. Kennedy's Matters in the New Generation. That's going to be really interesting and very timely, being like the 50th anniversary of JFK's assassination. So that's going to be kind of cool to talk about, I think. And I thought it was kind of timely, and I think it's interesting because it's not like one of those JFK assassination books, who did it, did the driver do it? I mean, I've seen some videos recently. I mean, they started making me think the driver had done it. I was like, oh my gosh, did you see it? It looks like he actually shot Kennedy from behind. And people put it on Facebook all the time. Did you see that? And you're like, I think so. And I remember calling up people going, I think this is true, but, I'm sure the whole conspiracy was right in our face the whole time anyway. I don't really know if it was any other conspiracy besides what we already know. But yeah, so it's not about that, okay? It's about really taking the protocol of how government was, the direction they were going, and, how society and how socially maybe we need to get back to. And because our government's gotten so out of whack lately, you know what I mean? Everything's out of whack. I don't think that we ever have a voice anymore.
You think?
Yeah, just a little bit. I think we've gotten a little off target lately, I don't know. So I'm hoping we have enough time to get to all this. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time. I'm hoping we do, but you never know. So when we return, we'll be talking all that and more. So stay tuned and keep it here on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, and I'll be back in 2 shakes.
No, I appreciate it, but I told my wife I wouldn't drink tonight. Besides, I got a big day tomorrow. But you guys have a great time.
A big day? Doing what?
Well, actually pretty nice little Saturday. We're gonna go to Home Depot. Yeah, buy some wallpaper, maybe get some flooring, stuff like that. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time.
You know what?
You know what? Give me that thing. I'll do one.
We gonna do one.
Do one.
Do you, baby? Oh! That's a talented man right there. Woo! That's what I'm talking about.
Fill it up again. We got it. So good. Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Hey, welcome back here live to Perspectives with me, Ashley Burgess, in the house. Tonight we're talking head games. We're talking mental manipulation. We're talking mental assault. And, we're going to talk right now about the most effective way you can arm yourself from games, manipulation, and, the actual games that people play. The thing about it is it took me a little while to figure it out. And, I think like anybody, I've had games played on me. I've had some ridiculous stuff done. But, I love everyone. That's one thing about me. I love everyone, really, no matter what. I don't like some people.
But you love them.
But I love them.
You just don't like them that often.
Yeah, some people you just don't like because they just do bonehead stuff all the time. And sometimes you don't like things that people say. You don't like some stuff what they do or how they act, but you still can love them. And the games that people play are the things that can get you to want to take revenge or action. When people play games on you and it's malicious intent or it's some sort of negative thing or it's some sort of mind game or some sort of manipulation, it can kind of make you angry. But you have to begin with self-control and really control of your emotions. And, this is one of my top statements, quotes for the century, is that self-control is very underrated in this generation.
Amen to that.
Isn't it? I mean, it's like people there's no self-control.
Nice job, Ashley. I like it.
Because really, everybody's like, they want something now.
And I'm at the top of that list. I have to really exercise self-control in a lot of areas in my life because I'm impulsive.
Are you?
I can be if I'm not real careful.
Impulse is something. Dano, are you impulsive?
Oh, yeah. But I think this is the age that we all grew up in, too. Just for impulse, you see it, you want it, get it. So, and that's the age that it's coming to now. You see it, you want it, get it.
Yeah, you remember back in the day, you look at the Christmas shows. That's also a sidebar. I just thought about this. And I was talking about this with my mom the other day. And she was saying, you can't buy for so-and-so and so-and-so because they got everything already and they're already going to get it anyway. So, what are you going to do? And I was thinking, man, remember back in the day when you would pick out something and wait all year to get it? And nowadays, people don't even think about that. Get something for Christmas?
Well, for crying out loud, it's like they're not even waiting for Thanksgiving to be over yet. They're opening stores on Thanksgiving evening now, so it's not really Black Friday anymore. It's turning into Black Thursday.
And now it's like, I can't believe it. I went every single store I've gone to, it's all Christmas trees. And this started November 1st.
And Thanksgiving isn't even here yet. Yeah, I know. That drives me crazy, too. Anyway, we're getting off topic here.
But you know what? It is the games that these sales people and these companies are playing. They're making you feel. I like it when you go to the mall and it's freezing cold. I mean, it's like 50 degrees in there. I mean, you go outside, it's 75. You're like, okay, obviously they want me to buy a bunch of jackets and coats and all these sweaters and stuff like that. It's crazy, and they're trying to get you to believe, okay,
But bars will do just the opposite. Have you ever noticed, like, especially in the summertime, that they don't hardly turn the air conditioner on?
It must be 95 degrees in here.
I need a beer,
How much salt is in this popcorn that we're eating?
I know, yeah.
But that's their whole point, is to try to get you to buy more beer, buy more popcorn, buy whatever.
Yeah. So it works. I think we can kind of tie this together, Ashley. The reason that people or companies or whoever plays games, it works.
It works, and we play right into it. We play right into it. I mean, instead of saying, okay, you know what? I know that this salty stuff is going to make me drink more. It's going to make me buy more. Instead of standing up and saying, hey, I don't appreciate this, or instead of not buying into the games, we buy into it. Now, whether or not it's because we want to, it's just like, mind games. You can buy into people's mind games or you don't, and really, so being that self-control is really underrated. The thing is that love is the only true emotion and state of mind, okay? So when I'm talking about I love people, when you really think about loving people, it's the only true state of mind you have. Think about it, okay? Think about it. Okay, Dano, Billy Boy, think about this. When people say, I'm blank, okay, fill in the blank. So I'm pissed, okay, or I'm angry, or I'm sad, okay? In those cases, I mean, are you pissed? Are you Mr. Pissed? I mean, because basically you're saying, I am pissed. I am. And the only word that you can really fill in that blank that makes any sense and that comes off in any sort of derivative of positiveness is I am love. Think about it. Everything else, you're some sort of crazy emotion. You're out of control and you're defining yourself based upon whatever it is at that exact second. I mean, think about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're basically defining who you are right at that moment, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I am mad. Okay, so now you're mad. Dano's not Dano anymore. He's mad. You're pissed. Okay, I don't know what's my name. I'm upset. I mean, it's like I'm going to define myself based upon that. No, I mean, love is the only thing. And for some of us, I know for some people listening, the love concept works. I mean, you practice it, you believe in it. And I know that some of y'all think this is bullcrap. I mean, you're going right now to get revenge on that person who wronged you. You're driving in the car, you got the show on, you're thinking, yeah, I don't care what they say. I'm going to turn that over here to, to 106 or whatever else. I'm going to listen to some music. I don't know, maybe some rap or something. I'm not going to listen to this. But no, you got to think about it right now. I know that you don't want to always love the a-holes. I mean, because they play games and make you feel bad, yada, yada. But you know what? It's difficult to love people. It's difficult to love someone who makes you feel bad, right? When somebody makes you feel bad, you don't sit there and go, I just want to, give them a warm, fuzzy hug. No. But you got to think about it. Are they making you feel bad? How are they making you feel bad? I mean, they can't make you feel bad. Only you can make you feel bad.
I see what you mean. So, in other words, you no matter how someone else is acting or what someone else has done or not done towards you, you can control how you react and feel about that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, because otherwise, if we don't control how we act and feel around certain people can push our buttons every single second of the day, and you would just be in bed crying, basically, or just completely depressed, going, I can't believe I've been treated like this because they've made me feel so bad. And yeah, sometimes people are trying to make you feel bad, but they can't make you feel bad. You can only accept that and say, okay, I feel bad because of what they're doing. They can merely try to make you feel bad by their tactics and their insulting games. But when you love instead of any other emotion, you're loving in and of itself. So a lot of times, the funny thing about it is when people try to hurt you and you really love everybody, it hits them back in the boomerang, in the back of the head. Because it's like when they're going out to do damage to you, it's going to hit them back so hard, tenfold. I mean, just immediately. But besides that, when you really choose to love people, you choose to put the highest feeling first without anything else taking hierarchy. So think about it. You realize that life is valuable and you don't want to see anything happen bad to people. I mean, that was the way I was able to start loving people. It's like, I don't want to ever see anything bad happen to them. They might not be the best of people, but God bless, I don't want to see anything bad happen to them. And so you kind of go from that perspective, almost like a parent kind of. And then, these same people you love may do malicious things to try and mess with you or take you down or screw up your life. But the reasons people try to do this is really what? Jealousy, right? Rage, resentment, anger, hostility, miscommunication is also a valuable one. Ego, mental imbalances, right? Hatred, scorn. A lot of people do things out of spite. Spite's a big thing. But once you employ and arm yourself with love, right, you get it. and you're ultimately protected. It's kind of like this protection. It's like this cloak. It's like a bulletproof vest kind of things. It's the best way to employ the shield is just to do it. Okay, so when you try to explain to people, because I figured this out, is that when I finally figured out how to love everybody, I can't explain to you how to do it. You just got to do it. You got to just try it out. You got to try it out for size, because I don't know what it is. It's just the best choice of action. Have you ever tried like a bunch of different things and it doesn't work? And you finally try another option, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, look at this.
Going off of your aspect, my wife and I, whenever we talk, we never leave the house without telling each other that we love each other. I mean, because just on the fact that, something could happen, like either her going to work or I'm going to work or her coming home from work or me coming home from work. So just on that aspect, we just tell each other, hey, I love you, just because you never know when you might not see that person again.
That's so true. And I do the same thing. And I've worked also to really remember what it means. Like every time I do it now, because I used to say it, I grew up in a household where you always say it, because my dad never got to say it to his parents before they died. My dad never got over that for a while, and he still probably hasn't gotten completely over it. And I think that because of that, we always said it. But then I realized that saying it is awesome, but knowing it is awesome too. And so for years I would just say it, and now I've gotten to the point where I understand what it means. And you're so right. When you leave the house, before you leave the house, or let's just say you even had a fight, an argument, what have you, instead of storming out, really sit down and really have a good conversation.
Well, I was just about to ask Dano there, Ashley. I mean, have you and your wife actually had the knockdown, drag out, screaming match, throwing things, where, it's then it would be kind of a challenge under those circumstances?
No, we haven't had those kind of fights yet, but there might become a time where there are those kind of fights. I mean, we get kind of mad, to like use your analogy, mad at each other, but it's not really mad. It's more annoyed than anything else, because I don't really get mad. I just get more annoyed because, I'll tell her something and then she'll just do the opposite of what I just told her to do. So, and then she comes to me, are you mad? I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm just annoyed because you're not listening to what I'm telling you.
Yeah, you did the opposite of what I just kind of thought you should do. I mean, for goodness sakes. And marriage is part of that, though. Marriage is the thing. We do that a lot in marriage because, sometimes we just want to push each other's buttons because it just, hey, you got that person, you're going to live with them for the rest of your life, and sometimes you just push buttons. But anyway, we will talk about that later on. But, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, Scott Reich, author of the acclaimed new book, The Power of Citizenship, Why John F. Kennedy Matters to a New Generation. And he's going to join us and discuss the current government situation, our social situations that we're currently kind of living in now, and how to really learn a little bit from JFK's vision. So I think that's cool. Also, later on in the hour, we're going to start talking about the games that people play, and we're going to talk more about how to truly love those so that it doesn't get to you and it's your permanent shield. So stay tuned. Keep us live here on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, and you know what? We'll be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on 570 KLIF.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
Welcome back to Perspectives, live here with me, Ashley Burgess in the house. And Scott Reich joins us this evening. He's a writer, author of the acclaimed new book, The Power of Citizenship, Why John F. Kennedy Matters to a New Generation. And Reich joins us really tonight to discuss, the situation at hand, our government, and how we can probably learn a little bit or a lot from the JFK-type generation. Scott, I'm so glad to have you here live on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. How are you doing this evening?
Doing very well. Great to be here.
Great to have you. So your new book here, The Power of Citizenship, Why John F. Kennedy Matters to a New Generation. we have a lot of stuff going on because we have the Kennedy, the 50th anniversary of the assassination, and most of the books that we hear or read about are really all about the assassination itself, not the ideology or the thought process of Camelot administration. So really give us your perspective for bringing this information to light.
Well, there's no question that the assassination of JFK is a seminal moment in American history. And as you noted, so much of what is out there today is about looking backward, about what happened and coming up with new theories. And so I wanted to write a book that was more about looking forward and how we can use this legacy to try to bring back a more constructive public discourse, which I think we don't have in our country today, and to use this man's legacy as a tool to make our country better. And so I believe that the major legacy of President Kennedy is the way he emphasized this theme of citizenship, the idea that we belong to a community wider than ourselves, and that with the privileges of our citizenship come certain obligations, and it's a message we need to be hearing again today.
I like that, the entire idea of community and how important it is for community as well as cooperation. Nowadays, and you and I were talking about this a little earlier, about how, we are such a social media consumed community. A lot of us, and like I was talking about earlier, self-control is a real issue in our generation right now. And I think that this online and this kind of dismissive attitude really creates problems in our community. It doesn't allow us to be very cohesive.
Well, I think there's some truth to that. I think that people are very absorbed today in doing their social networking and spending a lot of time online. And that's okay. I mean, I do think that we are connected, obviously, in ways that even just a few years ago we were not, in terms of Twitter and Instagram and advances in Facebook. But the question is, how can we take this technology and use it as a tool to foster this greater spirit of and sense of community? And too often I think people are looking inward, and we need to sort of reverse this. And we can use the social media. It's not going anywhere, of course, but it's a question of focusing on things that bring us together. And so I think it could be used more as a tool to bring about perhaps social change or to do community-based projects. I mean, it certainly is a great vehicle for us to work together, and that's what we need to focus on doing.
I agree with that. So what do you really feel is the most, maybe valuable concept, we as citizens and listeners obviously can take away from your book?
Well, I think, first of all, and people on both sides of the aisle will agree that the political climate has changed considerably since President Kennedy was in office 50 years ago. And I think that the biggest difference is that we're no longer able to have a dignified exchange of ideas. I mean, people attack one another simply based on whom they supported in the last election. They seek to destroy the quote-unquote other side. And it seems that too often we're barely even able to have a dialogue at all. And this whole idea of citizenship is to unite people and to make us realize that there is so much more that brings us together than what drives us apart. And our country, of course, faces great challenges today, economic and otherwise. And it's a shame that we spend so much time bickering and trying to bring each other down when we need to unite, especially in the wake of American global competitiveness that's been a little bit on the decline, and perhaps some risk to our national reputation, and a feeling that tomorrow may not be as great as it is today. And I think we need to reverse that. I think Kennedy's message of citizenship gives us the feeling that we can shape a bright future, and that and I think that's why his legacy resonates so deeply today, because we feel that notion of excitement and adventure and progress is somewhat missing.
I agree with that. And, Perspectives here with Ashley Burgess is one of those shows that really captures the human condition as far as the positive, the awesome, the uplifting human condition. And I think that when you bring up the fact that people are kind of divided and they'd rather destroy the other person, I think also when we look at the news and we look at the TV shows and we look at the type of stuff that most people are watching, it's a real fear-based type network. And so I think it divides people even more because they say, oh, my gosh, these people are killing in the streets. All this stuff's going on. And, I'm not even safe in my own area or my own neighborhood. And I think this fear-based type, TV and what have you is really kind of hurting society as well. And that's something we didn't really have as much of back during that administration, during that time.
Right, and that's why I think that some of Kennedy's rhetoric, if read today, is particularly enlightening. He did not focus on the politics of fear the way so much of our modern campaigns have emphasized that. He focused on the politics of hope. And, he said, for instance, in his New Frontier speech in July 1960, after he was nominated by the Democrats to be the nominee, he basically said, listen, this is going to be a set of challenges. It's not promises. I'm going to appeal to your pride, not your pocketbook. And he was envisioning this this new era where we were going to be challenged. And his goal of landing a man on the moon is a perfect example of this. He said, we're not sure quite how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, but it's going to require our best resources and talents, and we need to have people who are, with ingenuity and people who are creative to devote efforts to this. Why? Because we need to thrust forward. And he talked about what our country could be, and I think that he spoke about this idea that we can aspire to something great. He spoke of a great national purpose, of a mission for our country, and I think that's what's not clear in our public discourse today.
I agree with that. There's no clear mission statement. There's no clear, derivative as far as any sort of drive or path. And like I talk about a lot of times about, your path. Everybody has their own path, and I feel like we're kind of like a group of lost people. And with that in mind, I know that we only have a certain amount of time, and this is an open-ended question, but where is our government really, truly going wrong right now?
Well, that's a big question, as you noted. I think the first thing, as I noted before, is that there's this absence of a dialogue, and I think that we can argue till we're blue in the face about whose side is right, whose side is wrong on any particular issue. But the important thing is that we need the leaders of both parties to be able to come together publicly and or privately to be able to focus on getting things done for our country. And I think people are focused, of course, on the healthcare rollout. That's been an issue for some time. But there are other challenges as well going on abroad and other ones at home, too. And I think that it's difficult to pinpoint one challenge because it seems that we have this cloud that envelops everything else where our politicians are focused on getting the right sound bites so they can make the nightly news, so they can get picked up on Twitter or YouTube, and it's become this circus almost, where not only are they not speaking with one another, but they're really not serving the interests of the American people. And one of the things that I always find so interesting is that we had the government shutdown, of course, a few weeks ago, and during that time I saw a poll that said congressional approval rating was literally 11%. 11. But at the same time, we have over 90% of our incumbents in Congress get reelected. So there's some sort of disconnect there where people are feeling, yes, the system's not working, but my guy or gal seems to be doing okay. But I think that we're failing not just in our leaders, but in our local communities in sending a message to our politicians, to our leaders to say, listen, we're sending you there to do something and to work with the other side. And, of course, there are going to be differences of opinion. This is democracy. We have philosophical and ideological differences. But the question is, can people look past those to focus on points of common concern? And that's something that Kennedy really endeavored to do when he was president.
I agree with that, and I think dialogue is very important. We were talking about dialogue earlier in our first segment about really, having open dialogue in any sort of relationship is really the only way to have any sort of reality there. And I do feel like we haven't had that, especially in our government, as well as, I don't understand how everybody can argue and be upset about what's going on in Congress and the president and whatever, and they still get reelected. I don't get it.
Right.
I really just don't get it. It's like you argued about it the whole time. Now you're going to reelect him again. I mean, I'm surprised we're not going for a third term, as well as the Congress itself. So, I mean,
and this speaks also to Kennedy's message, which cuts deeper than the politics. He's speaking to people as individuals to say, we have problems in this country. We have great challenges, and it's up to us as individuals in our local communities to do something. I mean, you played the great clip from his inaugural address, the famous line, ask not what your country could do for you, ask what you can do for your country. But what I think Kennedy's really suggesting is he's saying, ask what you can do for your neighborhood, for your town, for your family and friends. It's intended to be a more localized message because at the end of the day, it's not going to be our politicians that probably digs us out of this mess that we've been in for some time. It's going to be the good people of this country who are going to focus on doing things that bring us together, to look past party labels and to be good citizens, right? I mean, to do things in our communities that lift one another up because, as Kennedy rightfully said, when we lift up our communities, we lift up ourselves at the same time.
I totally agree. And Scott Reich, I'm so glad you came on live here with Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. You will actually have two different events, one on Wednesday, right, at the Dallas JCC.
Yes, at 7 p.m.
At 7 p.m. and on Thursday at noon at the Eric Johnson Dallas Public Library?
That's correct.
And that'll be more information on my website as well, on liveyourtruelife.org. For that information, as well as you can buy Scott's book on Amazon or even on Barnes & Nobles, and that's The Power of Citizenship, Why John F. Kennedy Matters to a New Generation. Thank you, Scott Reich. Thank you for coming live here on Perspectives. Look forward to having you here in the future.
Thanks again. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming on.
You bet. Bye-bye.
And with all this great stuff with Kennedy's 50th anniversary of his death and assassination. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and I think Scott really has a lot of neat things to talk about, as well as the concept of how it really does make sense to really give back, and how we have kind of divided ourselves into this singular kind of living, as well as not making people step up to the plate and do what they say they're going to do and keep really electing them. So stay tuned. Perspectives with Ashley Burgess is a lot more on how to really assimilate your bulletproof vest against manipulation when we come back. So stay tuned, because Perspectives will be back, and yeah, 2 shakes.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here and give us your perspective. We're listening. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back to Perspectives, here live with me, Ashley Burgess. Woohoo! We've had a great show, man. That was great talking to Scott Reich. It was great to talk with him. It was great to discuss how to employ your security. And we've been talking about manipulation. We've been talking about mass hysteria, dogs and cats living together. No, we've been talking about the idea of manipulation. We've been talking about the concept of how to employ an ability to keep yourself safe when people are trying to play games on you. Mind games, that is, complete warfare. I mean, these things aren't cool. Okay, I can tell you there's some people that try to do it for one reason or another, and we're not going to talk about exactly the reasons why they do it today. We're going to be talking about that in future shows, because we got a lot to discuss on that one, because that's going to take a long time. But people do it a lot of times to get under your skin, to prove something, because they're angry, resentful, spite, whatever you have, or maybe just mentally unbalanced, right? Okay, but the thing is, it doesn't really matter the reason why they do it, because you could think about that all day long. Okay, because you're not in their mind. That's the thing. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, the concept of, you're the only one that actually thinks exactly like you think, right? So you're the only one. And even though some people can think close to you or maybe like near it, they still can't think exactly like you, because you are having your experience. That's the one thing about being an individual, being a human. We all have a different experience. It can be kind of similar. It can be even really close to similar, but it's not going to be the same. So when you're trying to figure out how to defend yourself in situations when people are trying to do bad things or make you feel bad, is choosing love. And I know I told you about how, love is the highest feeling. It's the highest. And if you put it in the highest hierarchy, people really can't do you wrong, because even when they try to do you wrong, it's going to come back and hit them in the back of the head really hard. And I can't explain to you why that happens, but it just does, because I think it's the thing is, like, if people are really good people and people do some stuff or try to do bad stuff to really good people, like really solid, nice, like wonderful, loving people, it doesn't work. And there's something about that defense mechanism. It's like a protection. And if you really believe in it, and the way that I tell you to go by doing this, because I know that some of y'all are like, come on, man. I'm supposed to love these people that are trying to like push every button and get on my nerves, or trying to hurt me or break up my marriage or whatever it is. Yeah, you got to start trying to figure out how to love people. And the best way to do it is just to do it. And I'm telling you, when you start just trying it out, just trying it. You might not like what they say. You might not like what they're wearing. You might not like what they're doing. And you can always say, hey, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what you're wearing. You can always say that. Just, but I'm talking about in general, behind all that. To love the person, that's key, because, we're not divided here. We're all kind of part of this whole thing, and it's like when you hurt someone else, you're really hurting yourself. I really can't kind of tell you that idea even more than you should. Just think about it. When you hurt someone else, you're really hurting yourself, because it's always going to come back toward you. Just like what I said earlier. When somebody tries to hurt a really good person, it's always going to come back at them. We'll begin identifying the games. So, like the avoidance game, the talker that never follows through, the in-your-face strike. Some people do that, or the preemptive strike. And we're going to talk about that in later shows as well, because there are some games that you got to get in touch with, man, because I can show you the games. And you're going to be like, man, I knew it. I knew they were doing that. But the good thing is that you can protect yourself, and you don't fall for it. Because it's not right. And a lot of people also use guilt. That's a good manipulative tool. We'll talk about all that. But let's talk tonight, before we get out of here, the ways to really help yourself with this defense mechanism as far as love. First of all, you really want to practice that new defense system every day. You can't just expect to love everybody immediately. You got to practice it. You got to work at it. It's like a job, and you got to try to do it. And I'm telling you, it takes really, honestly, about 6 months to really get in the groove.
Maybe another way you could put it is it's like a muscle. You got to work out the muscle, and maybe at first it's going to hurt.
Exactly, because sometimes you're going to be like, I can't believe I'm loving this person, and this person is just, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you're like, I can't believe this. I mean, this person is in my face just like, you know what I mean? There's people that, at least, there's people that I love that I just go, oh, man. I'm just shaking my head going, oh, geez.
Yeah, I love you, but I really don't want to be around you right now.
Yeah, but I love you. I really do. And you really do love them. I mean, you really do, but you got to practice it because people will do stuff that you'll be like, I'm not supposed to love that person, but you got to. You got to, because you know what? Eventually it gets easy. Eventually you look over what they're doing at that exact moment and you see them as the person. You know, the second thing you want to do is allow things to be. Just allow things to be. When somebody's acting out or doing whatever, allow it to be. Don't try to change it. Don't try to teach them how to be a better person. I used to do that all the time too. I'm going to show this person how they need to be a better person, you know? I'm going to prove to them how to do this. I'm going to tell them how they can live life better. You know what? How much that works? Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Well, that and also they don't even want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They didn't ask for it, you know, and you're over there blue in the face telling them, you're screwing your whole life up. I'm like, God, you're such an idiot, you know, but it doesn't really work because they don't get it. They don't see it. They don't know.
That's because they're set in their ways.
Exactly. They're set in their ways.
They don't want to be told something differently.
No, because it's scary, too. Oh, my God.
And they didn't ask for it in the first place. It's one thing if somebody asks you for your perspective on it, but if you're just going to go volunteer it, then you might as well just be speaking to a brick wall.
It's because change scares a lot of people.
Change does scare people, and especially anything that they're not accustomed to. If their family, a lot of people did not grow up in a family that was about love, that was non-string attached love, right? Most people had strings, marionette strings, whatever else going on, where if you don't do this, I'm not going to love you. And that's the thing, is that it's not about that anymore. Once you kind of divide yourself from that thought process and say, even if I was raised like that, even if you were raised like that, to eliminate that and say, hey, I'm going to love this person no matter what. It really does change things. And it's hard to do in the beginning. I think it's hard to employ, especially if you're like type A personality and you want to kick everybody's butt, you know, and you're like, they're all screwing up over here. Well, you know what? You know, people are. And the thing is that the funny thing is we've all done it. It just depends on what age. So when you see people doing it, sometimes you got to kind of look back in your thought process and remember when you did that. But, you know, the third thing you want to do is remove yourself from anyone who gets you angry, especially for their own personal gain. And I'm sure all of us here and everybody listening has a few people in your group of people that you call a friend that like to ruffle your feathers and get you angry and point out things that are happening at the most inopportune times.
I think it's a power trip. A lot of times I think they get you angry because they know then they have power over you.
Yeah, because they do.
They're like the puppeteer holding the strings. You know what I'm saying? They can pull your strings, literally.
Like if I texted you something, did you see this? And I do it right at dinner time, right when you just got home.
Yeah.
I'm working all day, whatever. And you respond back with what? And I don't even respond back to you. I don't even answer the phone. I mean, they are trying to upset you. They are trying to anger you because of something. And that's fine. Maybe and a lot of times you have to look past that and go, that person is very angry about another situation in their life. They don't want to act out about it, but they want you to, and it kind of, helps them mentally. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It's just a funny thing. And then the last thing, you want to see the big picture. I know a lot of people say, oh, you have to see the big picture. You got to see the big picture. You got to begin by taking these little few steps away from the situations you're in. Okay, so not closer into it. Away from the situations you're in. Just a few steps back, just a few steps, just a little steppy step, just a step. And you see the other side of things, and you realize that others can't read your mind, okay? And you're able to step back from your own situation and say, wow, this isn't that big of a deal. My life's not going to end over this. It is the minutia. I'm going to step back. I'm going to accept what's going on, and I'm going to love these people. I'm not going to love what they're doing, but I'm going to let it lie, and I'm going to walk away for a little while. I'm going to live my life. And I think that when you start employing that in every relationship you have, it also cuts the binding strings that you have and that other people have on you. Because all of a sudden, you're not binded by anything.
Free at last. Free at last.
Oh my, I'm free at last.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the case. You're right. I mean, because it's like when you love people, they can do some really stupid things. But in the same point in time, you just go, you know what? I love them. And also, those stupid things don't get to you anymore. You can actually step back and laugh about it, and it's really funny. So stay tuned. Next week, we've got a new Perspectives, as always. So stay tuned for next week. And Perspectives with Ashley Burgess will be back. And guess what? You know it. We'll be back in 3 shakes.